show. It's what I know. They bring in all these boys and girls all around the whole wide world. Imprisoned show is what I know, but here we go. Imprisoned show is what I know. They took me from my home, I can't get back to my family. I wanna hold just to get it back. I can't do this no more. It's the Imprisoned Show.
Hello viewers at home, my name is Bukola Oriola. Thank you for tuning in tonight. This is Imprisoned Show, a show set out to educate the public about human trafficking. Human trafficking is the modern day slavery that is killing our loved ones, and every day human trafficking is going on in every community across the world. No community is immune to human trafficking, and that is why it is so important to us to keep talking about it and educating you at home about what human trafficking is, how you can help a victim, and how a survivor could get help, or how you could prevent your loved ones from becoming victims of human trafficking. We have a great show for you tonight. We have a great guest from the African community, and we have the Advocate Excellence Award. We also have a book review tonight. We have the Kids Against Human Trafficking, and we have a tribute. There is a great musician who has given tribute to victims of human trafficking. You'll be meeting him tonight. His name is Nick Strusz. Stay tuned and enjoy with us. So tonight we have a very important guest from the African community here in Minneapolis in the studio. And she is the founder and president of African Women Connect. And she's Rita Apaloo. Rita, thank you for coming to Imprisoned Show tonight. We are really honored to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here. And before we start, I'd just like to say I'm really proud of what you do in the community.
Thank
so
you.
It's an honor to be part of it.
Thanks. You are part of the process of getting to where we are today. And at some point on the show today, you will find out how you were part of what we are doing today. You were one of the founding members of what is happening here today. Yes, you are. And can you tell us about the African Women Connect?
African Women Connect is a networking organization for African women immigrants in the Twin Cities area. Basically, we started in 2004 when I realized that I had a lot of African immigrant friends. I met them at work and sometimes at church or in the community. But I realized that we didn't really have enough opportunity to spend more time together to build relationships outside of the settings that we met. And so I just thought, why not invite a couple of my girlfriends and ask them to ask their friends just to get together and build relationships. So that's how African Women Connect started.
In 2004?
2004.
Wow, that is quite a while.
Yes. Yes. It's been a while, and it has, grew to a few. Actually, we've had events. So we provide events for women to get together, build relationships. And since 2004, we've actually had up to 400 event participants.
Wow.
And that's a duplicated number, so we'll probably be somewhere in the 200 range of African women from 20 different African countries. And in fact, about 92% of them are immigrants, and then the others have been friends of African women immigrants who are either African Americans or just other American friends that's been a part of it.
Wow. And the event you hold all the time, do you have like an annual event or a monthly event, or how
Well,
do you hold the events?
When we started in 2004, we started on a quarterly basis.
So those events you hold, do you have like a particular focus of an issue in the community?
We try to do different things just to kind of mix it up a little bit. We've had events where we would bring a speaker in to talk about a specific topic, and we've done everything from financial planning to work issues. We've had a business that people might be interested in. So we have a lot of different things, and sometimes it's just to get together for a social purpose. We're very intentional about supporting businesses in the community. So usually small businesses don't have the marketing budget to let people know where they are, as much as possible. So we try to create events that will allow us to go to these venues to sort of introduce it to the women so that they can tell other people about it. So that's been very, very successful, and we've made a lot of good friends in the community using their place of business and also introducing that to the women in the community.
Okay. So this group is just focuses on women. Do you have like the male coming sometimes, or the children?
Well, we get that question all the time. Unfortunately, we don't have any discussion right now about starting a men's group or a children's group. However, we have thought about maybe looking at a couple of events within a year that we can have the women bring their families. So that would include the husbands and the children. In fact, we have had one event, a seminar type event, where we invited men to come as well. So stuff like that we'll try to see in the future if we can create those kinds of events.
Okay. And then there was a time you had like a volunteering opportunity at one of the battered women's shelter here in the Twin Cities. Could you shed light on that, and why did you take that step?
When we started, AWC was really about just focusing on the relationship building between the women, but we realized that what we really like to do is to not only introduce the women to what's going on in the community, but also to get people involved. And some of the women really wanted to, we got their input, and some people really wanted to do some things to get involved in the community. And we also realized that the perception of the mainstream community about African women were really limited to sometimes just, women who are refugees or women who are, very disadvantaged and stuff like that. Whereas there are a lot of different types of African women. Most of the women in African Women Connect are professional women. It is open to everybody, but that's the women who have really taken advantage of the of our program. So what we decided to do was to do some community involvement events, which included going to a women's shelter, just to share, our food, our stories with the women, and give them a different perspective of African women in the community, and also just to offer our services and our help in whatever way we could.
Since the group has come together and been working in the community, have you been in a situation whereby you had to refer a woman to the battered women's shelter for help?
We are not a African Women Connect is not a social service organization, but at the same time, we do keep on hand referrals for services in the community. So we have had situations where someone's looking for a job and wondering, if it's something we can help with, and we're able to say, call this agency, they might be able to help you. They have an intake process, that kind of stuff. And the same with women who are looking for help in terms of whether it's domestic violence or just other information they need, for their families. We do have resources, and we make sure to point them to the right direction when that happens.
The issue of human trafficking in the African community, what is the African Women Connect doing to sensitize the community about this issue?
Okay.
Because human trafficking is growing, among people in every community around the world. So I was wondering what AWC is doing in terms of sensitizing the community.
What we try to do is provide a safe space for people to talk about serious issues, that need to be discussed. So when you look at human trafficking, a lot of times it's really covered by domestic abuse or domestic violence.
Yes.
Those are really tough issues for our community. I myself, just to give you a little background, I was born and raised in West Africa, and I'm not an expert on African traditions because my family actually lived in a very westernized, mixed culture society in a mining company, and we had individuals from just about everywhere in the world. So the actual hard African traditions were not part of my upbringing, but having lived in Africa and being surrounded by that culture, I do understand that there are some things that were sort of accepted. Okay, for example, the idea that a child or an individual would be given to a family to work for that family, and in return, maybe education will be provided. Unfortunately, a lot of times it did not work like it should have, and people were mistreated and battered and misused, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
However, the society did not look at it as
Negative.
as a very negative or a terrible thing that could happen, like the worst thing that could happen. So I think sometimes when people are transported to a different society like the United States, where freedom and independence is for everyone to enjoy, it's hard to understand how that is something bad, like not keeping someone from being educated or mistreating them, that kind of stuff. So it's a really tough issue for the community. And what we do at African Women Connect, we do not tell people, what you believe is wrong. What we try to do is bring in experts from the industry who can speak to it, and also give people the opportunity just to discuss it. So what October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as well as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we have an event called the Pink and Purple event. And what we do, we bring people in. Sometimes it's someone who has experienced domestic violence or human trafficking situation.
Yes, I remembered you
And
had
you,
me something.
yeah, you
Yes.
actually was a speaker for
Yes.
one of the events we've had. So, so basically, just presenting that information in the safe space for people to discuss it. I think is just a great step in helping the issue of human trafficking and domestic violence, because it's such a sensitive issue. And Africans feel that whatever happens in their homes should stay in the homes and not be discussed in the street. So sometimes you have people who are open to discussing these issues, and there are others who just won't. So we try to respect everybody's view in terms of what they want to do and how they want to treat it. But I think it's our responsibility to bring people in who are experts in the field, in the industry, who can talk to what's legal, what's not, and what's the consequences, or what are the resources if they knew someone was.
Okay, so would you say it's because, for example, some communities already don't see anything wrong in domestic abuse or child labor? It's something that happens in their community already, and they just take it to be normal. Would you say that is why majority of the people, when they get here and that kind of thing is happening, they're not willing to talk about it? Or those who are the perpetrators do it because they think it's normal?
Well, I think there has to be a lot of education. First, the people who it's happening to, they need to know that it's not right. They have rights. And most of the women that come here from other countries, their networks are really small. They have a really small network of usually family and relatives. And they go to work and they do meet people, but once they leave work, that's really where it stays. And AWC allows you to come out, get to meet new people, expand your relationships beyond that close knit that you have, so that when something comes up and you cannot talk to the people in your circles, there are other people out there that you can actually pick up the phone and call. Sometimes people get really afraid to either call the agencies directly or call the police directly, and they're not really sure what to do. So AWC really helps in a way that they expand those relationships and that circle of people who you have the opportunity to call. So I think education for everyone, the people who are coming, the perpetrators here who understand the systems and know that by keeping information from those that they're perpetrating will keep that going. They also need to know that there are resources out there that will eventually, find them.
What are you doing to empower women to overcome domestic abuse and human trafficking in the Twin Cities?
What we're doing is we say, come and expand your circle of friends that you know, people you know. That goes a long ways, and I think sometimes people don't really think about it, but we all are always looking for people who we can share things with that would not necessarily go to the people that we're trying to keep it from. So come out, get to know new people, and keep those numbers and those contact information. Also, we have a safe place for you to ask questions if you're not sure what's going on. Compare with other people. Know what other people are going through. A lot of times, people might think it's normal to be treated a certain way at home, but if they came out and they found someone else who's saying no, a lot of other people say no, that's not how we're treated, or then they'll have something to compare it to.
So would you say it's necessary for people here, for example, organizations like African Women Connect, to start going back to home countries and educating people about, these issues, that if you send a child out to a place to go and be working for them, it's child trafficking, while you are being paid, or if you just send a child away and you think they are supposed to foster the child. Instead, they are not fostering the child. You should withdraw the child. So would you say there should be efforts towards this?
I think there has to be some education in terms of people who are looking to send their families or loved ones abroad, because, you know, to people who promise a lot of things. For example, most of the time, when people leave Africa in a lot of disadvantaged countries and come to, you know, America or Europe, what have you, they're leaving situations that are really dire, or sometimes it's just not, you just can't compare it with the situation here. So they're hoping to come to something better. So there are a lot of promises of what's going to happen once you get here. You know, the situations, you know, such as yourself, people are getting married to finding husbands and wives, you know, back home, to bring them here, you know, to live a life. But a lot of times, you know, there's, I think, a discussion or a question about, you know, why me and not, I know there are a lot of other people there, why not them? So I think there should be definitely awareness of some of the possibilities so that people can make sure to have the discussion and look into the matter more closely before they agree to make the trip.
Okay, we'll take a break right now and we'll be right back. Thank you. These are reports from the local news and international news. Minnesota Girls Are Not For Sale is a local non-profit here that has launched a radio ad to campaign against sex trafficking in the state of Minnesota, according to WCCO. WCCO reported that the Women's Foundation has invested $20,000 in this advertisement. So we are hoping that this will help against sex trafficking in the state of Minnesota. And also there is a ranch that rescues girls. The ranch is called Heartland Girls Ranch in Benson, Minnesota. And what they do is actually they rescue, you know, abused girls or neglected children, and it began to grow, and now they are rescuing sex victims in Minnesota. So we are giving kudos to the Heartland Girls Ranch in Benson, Minnesota. We hope that someday we'll be in touch with you. Then also Yahoo News reports that the United Nations is saying there are millions, just like they've been saying before, millions of people trafficked across 118 countries in the world. Majority of these are women. And they are finding now that there are more children who are being trafficked as labor victims and sex victims across the world. And then, according to the report, for example, the report says that sexual exploitation is more common in Europe, Central Asia, and the Americas, while trafficking for forced labor is more frequently found in Africa, the Middle East, South and East Asia, and the Pacific. And guess what? There is even trafficking among the athletes. Euronews has reported that several Romanian athletes have been charged with trafficking. In fact, prosecutors claim that 2 boxers and their coach recruited boys for sex slavery to Germany, where they were sexually exploited. They deceived the boys' parents that they were going for sports. Meanwhile, they sold these boys for sex. So human trafficking is very much going on all over the world, including even the trafficking of organs. United Nations says that the trafficking of organs is about 0.2% in 2010, and 16 countries were surveyed for this report. So human trafficking is something that is growing every day, and it's the more reason why we all as a community need to start talking more about it and opening our eyes to fight this crime in our community. Thank you for this time. We hope to bring you more reports from around the world next time.
Imprisoned Show. Oh, oh, oh.
Welcome back. If you are just tuning in, this is Imprisoned Show. Thank you for joining us tonight. And tonight we have Rita Apaloo, the founder and president of African Women Connect, here in Minneapolis with us in the studio. So Rita, it's been nice hearing from you this issue in the African community. What do you envision for the African community in terms of human trafficking and domestic abuse fight in the nearest future?
Well, I hope that we have more discussion, serious discussion about it. I hope that in the community, I know many of our people are in religious organizations, and they do turn to their pastors and elders of the church to talk about these kinds of issues in terms of what's going on in their homes. I would hope that the churches will start to refer these situations to the right agencies that have people who understand the laws and understand not only the laws of the country that we live in, but also experts who can help people to find ways to solve the issues. So some people might need education, the right education. Sometimes it's not just pulling people apart, but it's treating them, helping them to learn how to live together or what not to do, because some people are not really sure in terms of what's abuse versus what's right to this person who I have married. So I would hope that the community will be more aware of the issue and have more, make sure to point people to the right resources, because pastors are experts when it comes to the Bible, but not experts when it comes to domestic abuse or someone who might be having some, whether it's mental issues or what have you. We need to realize that there are professionals and we need to refer people to them. So my hope is just more education, more safe spaces for people to talk about the serious issues about what's going on in their homes, or someone they might know. Some children in school would have the courage to talk to adults, social workers, in terms of what's going on with them. So just a lot of education and discussion about this issue, because people are dying because of this. I mean, we see on the news all the time the unfortunate result of some of the domestic abuse, human trafficking situations. And I hope that with education, some of the spouses and partners understand that, once you build trust, you don't have to control someone. There will be mutual trust, and you can work things out and live, a really good, productive life and have a good relationship.
What about those men who have their wives here, but because the woman is here, they want the woman to just be working and be giving them the money?
Yes. Unfortunately, like I said, I think unfortunately, it has to be education. The woman has to understand that not only is that not right, but what are her options in terms of who can she turn to, um, who can she find help, maybe to first maybe talk to her husband, who hopefully might not know that he cannot do that, but if the situation is, I mean, he understands what that is, then she needs to know what her options are in terms of the rest of her life, you know, what she wants to do about that. And it's all about information, I believe.
And those living in fear?
Those living in fear need to reach out. There are numbers to a lot of, you know, shelters or domestic abuse hotlines. They need to call those, reach out to other people, find ways to really expand your circle of friends outside of your family and relatives, so that if you need to reach out to someone who hopefully might not try to discourage you, someone who can really say, this is what's going on, these are your options, and not someone who will say, don't talk about it, it'll work out at some point. That's not a guarantee.
Okay. You just mentioned the shelter, and it brought a question to my mind. Is the issue of food at the shelter, like serving African ethnic food at the shelter, is not so common? From my own personal experience at the battered women's shelter. So what would be your recommendation to battered women's shelter in terms of incorporating African ethnic food in the food they provide to the women who end up at the shelter?
Well, one of the things that AWC have done is a food drive. We do a food drive of ethnic foods and present them to shelters. And the SEEP program in Brooklyn Park has been where we've taken our donations. And we found that when we first started doing this, it was not very common. A lot of shelters did not know. In fact, the first time we did a food drive, we had to explain what the foods were to the people at the shelter, because they didn't really understand. But we've come a long way, and now many of the food drive centers know about the ethnic foods, and they do take some of those ethnic foods. So I would say that the shelters should try to contact some of the emergency food shelf network partners to see if they have ethnic foods donated there that they could, you know, get, and I'm sure the people at the shelter will be able to cook it for themselves. Or there are also a lot of really good restaurants that are African restaurants in the cities that they can contact to do some catering, just so that they themselves can either try the food and also provide it for for the women at the shelter, because it's very important. People don't realize how important the ethnic foods are. A lot of people who of ethnic backgrounds, that's what they eat every day. And so when you don't have that food, and especially being in a situation where it's very stressful and you're not really sure what's going to happen, having the right food is just one comfort that can sort of take you to the next moment. So
thank you so much. We're really glad to have you tonight and educate us about what African Women Connect is doing and the wonderful things you have been doing in the community. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Please stay tuned for the Advocate Excellence Awards. We have a surprise for you.
For who, me?
Yes. Surprise, surprise. We have a surprise.
Oh boy. What, you gonna dance for me?
See, my producer is dancing already. Yes. Thank you.
Oh
See?
my goodness.
Yes, it's with honor that I would like to present you
Oh
this
my goodness.
plaque.
This is.
You know, you are one of the people
Oh my
who helped me
gosh.
to this point where I am today. Like I said at the beginning, that if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here today. You were one of those people. I cannot forget on that Sunday morning when I called you and you came. You didn't just come to the shop, but then you came with a list of shelters. But I was so confused. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if to take it or not. And I do know how African women feel or immigrant women feel when they are in such situations. I had never heard about a shelter. When you even ask somebody to go to the shelter, they wonder, shelter? What is called a shelter? You know, because depending on your orientation about what a shelter is, you just think it's a shed somewhere. And you don't want to, you know, go to a shed somewhere. You are looking for a comfortable place to go. And having a child in my hand, you know, it was very important for me then to be at the right place. But, you know, you came. You gave me that list. And I think I might still have that list somewhere at home. Yes. You gave me that list, and not only that, you know, even though I didn't go to any of those shelters you recommended, I went to the one recommended by the public health nurse. You still followed up. You were checking on me. You called. Sometimes you even came back to the shop to say, are you really okay? Is everything going fine for you? And I've been looking for a way to say my thank you to you.
Oh.
And this is just the perfect opportunity for me. And I'm so grateful for you.
goodness.
You saved a life, not only my life, but my child's life. And not only the lives of both of us, but many women have heard our story and they've gotten help. Many people have heard my story and they've used my story to help others because you were one of those people that gave me the help. So I am so grateful. I am so grateful. I am so grateful. And I'm using this to encourage every victim and survivor out there. Your advocate doesn't have to be somebody working at the shelter. It could be someone out there that pointed you in the right direction, or someone out there who keeps checking on you to see how you are faring. If you are looking for that person to say thank you to and you don't know how to, this is the perfect opportunity for you to do just like I'm doing tonight. To come and say thank you to that person by going to the website, imprisonedshow.com, and nominate your advocate for the Advocate Excellence Award. And that person will get a plaque like this. So I'm very grateful, Rita. God bless you.
Oh.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm glad
Thank
I
you.
was in a position to help.
Thank you for staying with us tonight. Now it's time for Kids Against Trafficking. And you're going to be meeting Jaden. You already know her, and she's going to be having Samuel Jacobs with her tonight to host the Kids Against Trafficking segment.
Hi, my name is Jaden, and I drew this flag of Germany because some of my ancestors are from Germany. So now here's Sam.
My name is Sam, and this is my flag of the United States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stand against human trafficking.
Your flag of your country.
Jay.
took all of them, all these kids, just for the wants and the needs.
Thank you for staying with us. Tonight we have Laura Sargent. She'll be telling us about a book she has reviewed. I won't tell you the name of the book. Wait till she comes in here to tell us about the book she has reviewed tonight. So you read the book Breaking My Silence.
Yes, I did.
How would you describe the book?
Well, I did like the book very much. Breaking My Silence is written by Jane McCormick with Patty Wickland. And I read this book. I read it 1.5 times. I'm working on a second time. I've enjoyed the book. It sounds more like a story of her life more than anything. It's the way it's written makes me feel like I was there, like I was one of her friends. And I felt like I was in the background seeing what's going on. I think it's very well written, although it gets confusing sometimes how old she is when she's writing, because sometimes she is talking like a really little girl, and then other times she sounds like she knows way too much for a little girl, but I really don't know what it would feel like to be in that situation. She actually has actual conversations written out. So it feels more like a story. It reads more like a story. And that's probably why I felt like I was there. So it's less of a documentary, more of a story. It's got a lot of energy, it's compelling, and I liked it. It's horrible in some parts, what she says that has happened to her with her stepdad, and how she was treated, how the kids were left alone to try to find stuff to do, but they weren't supposed to get in trouble, and it kind of set her up for the lifestyle that she had. As you recall, you interviewed Jane,
yes.
And what episode was that again?
Episode 11.
Episode 11.
That's our last episode.
This is 12.
Yes.
Okay. So our last episode, you can visit it and learn about Jane and what she went through. There's many names in this book. And it certainly keeps you interested. I was kind of sad when the book ended because it was like I was there with her the whole time. I mean, I wasn't experiencing it per se, but I just felt like I was with her or her friend. And then when the book ended, that was the end of my friendship with Jane, and so I was kind of sad when the book ended.
Okay, would you say the book relates to what is happening today in terms of pimping and all those kind of things, where it's a pimp that actually introduces a girl into the sex slavery industry, which they call prostitution, and then a girl finds out that, she's in this life and thinks there is no other life or there is no way to get out?
From what I have seen so far on the movie that I reviewed and watched, and from listening to your shows and being here during the recording of them, it's not quite the same. It's different.
The public does not see a prostitute as a good person. When you hear the word prostitute, what comes to your mind first is hatred. And majority of these girls that are being prostituted didn't just wake up one day and say, oh, the life I'm going to live is the life of a prostitute. And that is what is here in this book, where our first introduction into the business was through a guy who introduced her to some men sleeping with her, and the guy started making money. He would give her some money though, but still it was something that she didn't go into out of her own volition. I think that's another thing in the book that people need to watch out for, in the ways that girls get into the sex slavery industry.
Right. This book, the kind of prostitution she was in is a little different than some of the others that I'm more familiar with from hearing from the big cities. This is different because it was more of a glamorous kind of a prostitute.
Because it's this,
'Cause
I
she's
think
in
it's
Vegas
because,
and
yes,
there's all
it's
that
the
money
setting and it's the
and all those
in
stars.
Vegas, yes, because it's in Vegas and because, you know, it's just like it's different from here to here. For example, if you are in North Minneapolis, it's different from Anoka, and it's different from Minnetonka. You know, okay, for if there is prostitution going on at the Lake of Minnetonka, you know, I'm sure the girls there will be paid more than they will be paid if it was in North Minneapolis or even in Anoka. And it doesn't make it any more glamorous.
In the book, it does talk about some of the abuse that she suffered. Like she gets pushed around, and I believe she had a broken arm, and she had some issues with her body that she had to seek medical attention for, and she also felt that she couldn't tell anybody what was going on because her stepdad, who was starting the abuse when she was a little tiny girl, when she was a baby, a toddler, he was molesting her. I mean, that was so sick. And as a little baby, I can see where it would be hard to know what to do about it. But as she matured a little bit, she knew it was wrong, but she still felt she couldn't say anything because he told her he would kill her, and he would hurt the mom or kill the mom too. So, and she was afraid for her family, and her mother and her brother, and herself. She didn't want to die either, and so she didn't say anything. The first time she said something was to one of her friends, a 10-year-old girl who believed her, and she told her mother, and they believed her, but Jane didn't want them to say anything because she didn't want to get anybody in trouble. And it's kind of a hopeless situation. And the way it was written makes you feel like you're experiencing some of her feelings, which makes it an enjoyable book to read, but it's not enjoyable in a lot of parts because of the abuse that she suffered. And it does talk a lot about the different types of things she went through, and it was horrible. And I believe that's what she just wanted to break her silence and let people know that what happened to her led her into her profession for a while there. And there's a lot more to a prostitute than what we see or hear.
Yes.
And they usually don't choose that on their own. They may because they feel it's the only thing they can do, but most of the time they're tricked or lured into it, forced into it. Jane, I believe, was forced into it.
So, and that's why I think it's important for parents to listen to their kids. When a young child is saying something to you, you better believe that child.
That's right. Her mom didn't believe her at
Yes.
all, and she told the police.
Yes.
When she tried to run away at about 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that age group, the police came because the parents called the police that the girls were missing, her and her friend that she had told, and her mom dismissed it like she always makes up stuff,
Yes.
and sent her to a psychiatrist because that's what the policeman recommended, because the stepdad was in the services. They didn't do anything to him, and the psychiatrist believed her, but it kind of just all got swept under the rug, and that's how she ended up as a call girl. But yes, it is very important for parents to listen to their children.
Yes. So, in a nutshell, what would you say about the book? Like, what would you recommend? Would you recommend that people go get the book and read and learn one of the ways that, somebody could be in the sex slavery industry even though they're calling it prostitution?
I don't know that you would necessarily learn a lot of that in this book.
Okay.
You would just see what happened to one girl, because it's more of her story. And you would cheer this girl on and be happy for her, and then you'd be very, very sad for her. So it's more like following her life and what happened while she was a call girl at a young age. I believe she started at 19.
And that's one thing that people need to know too. You see, victims just tell their story. It is the service provider or somebody working with victims that will be able to identify that this person is a victim. You know, the general public need to understand that victims don't come forward and say, oh, I'm a victim of human trafficking and say sweet story. No, they just tell their story.
Right.
They just tell their stories as it happened to them. And so usually when they tell their stories, those who understand it will now say, oh, this is human trafficking, this is abuse, this is molestation, this is this, and be able to put all the puzzles together from the story. So that is just one person telling
Yeah.
a story, just like a victim would tell a story.
Right, and it was healing
Yes.
for her to tell it, and it also shows what can happen no matter what. No matter what kind of prostitution you're in, there is still always very bad stuff that happens. And in the book, and when you talked to her, she talked about nightmares that she still has. And how old is she? 70?
70. She just turned 71.
Yeah, she still has nightmares about how she was treated as a child. And I don't know if they'll ever go away.
I don't know either. So thank you so much, Laura, for the good job you did. We hope that next time we'll have another book or a movie
We
from
will.
you.
We will have
Thank
another
you.
book. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Imprisoned Show. Oh, oh, oh.
Okay, thank you. Meet Nick Strusz. He has a tribute for victims of human trafficking. And I want to use this opportunity to say thank you to Nick for the theme song he made for Imprisoned Show. So you have been enjoying the new theme song because Nick actually made that song for us.
Imprisoned Show is what I know. Imprisoned Show is what I know. Imprisoned Show is how we roll. Up and down the tracks into your TVs. Oh, oh, oh. This is about all the little boys and girls all around the whole wide world. Yeah, Imprisoned Show is just coming to your TVs. Oh, give you what I got, what you need. Yeah, yeah, Imprisoned Show is what I know. Been up and down, I'm so tired of everything. Imprisoned Show is what I know. They bring in all these boys and girls all around the whole wide world. Imprisoned Show is what I know, but here we go. Whoa, Imprisoned Show is what I know. They took me from my home, I can't get back to my family. I wanna hold just to get her back. Oh, I can't do this no more. It's the Imprisoned Show. Whoa, I've been lost, but now I'm found. I heard the sound of glory from my Father God. It's an Imprisoned Show. Oh, oh, oh.
We light this candle in honor of victims who have lost their lives as a result of human trafficking, and we hope that their soul rests in perfect peace. Thank you for staying with us tonight. I hope you have learned a lot, just like I have, about the African community and what this organization is doing to educate the community about domestic abuse and human trafficking in that community. And I do hope that if you belong to that community, now you know that help is available. You don't have to keep quiet. You need to talk to somebody. You can talk to somebody trustworthy. And African Women Connect acts a website. It's called africanwomenconnect.com or I think it's .net. Anyway, there is a website for African Women Connect, and you can also find African Women Connect on Facebook. So please connect with other women, because you never know, you can get help. You saw that Rita was one of those who actually helped me to the point where I am today. If she wasn't there then, I don't know if I will be here today. So please nominate your advocate for the Advocate Excellence Award. As you have seen me tonight with Rita, it doesn't have to be a shelter advocate. It could be anybody. Someone who has been part of your progress or your freedom can be your advocate. And if you are looking for a way to say thank you to that person and you don't know how, as a victim or survivor of human trafficking, this is the perfect opportunity for you to do that. And kids, we want to encourage you, please send in your flags for Kids Against Trafficking, and please send in your poems, your letters, or even songs for victims and survivors of human trafficking. We will read your letters here on the show, and we will play your song right here on the show. Just make a song and put it on YouTube and send us the link. We'll put it on the website and air it here on the show. Thank you once again for staying with us tonight. We hope to see you next time. God bless you, and bye-bye.
They took me from my home when I was just so young. I don't know who I am. I'm supposed to be your son. All they do is just treat me so bad. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I wanna live my life and live it forever, but they keep on bringing me back to this place. They trafficking me. They trafficking me all around this world. Wanted to talk to God today to say, help me get up out of this place you made. I can't believe you put me in this situation, but I know you can move mountains for me. Oh, this a house that I live my whole life. I don't wanna be in no more. They keep on just trafficking on me and just don't wanna walk out the door. Help me get up out of this place. I just don't wanna live in this house no more. Trafficking me around the whole wide world. I feel like I'm a slave in this modern time. It's 2013. I just don't know how this world could be this way anymore. They're just trafficking little boys and girls all around the whole wide world, yeah. Just trying to tell a story to you now about my whole life and how they took me from my home and put me into this place. They sold me for just a couple cents, I know. Help me get home, help me get home. I don't wanna be in this place no more. Help me get home, help me get home. I don't wanna be in this place no more.
Kids, send in your flag. Here's Angie.